Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. For those who are watching this recording, so I don't know what time it is when you're watching this recording, so I'll give you all the greetings. Good morning, all the way, good night. My name is Nazrin. I am your facilitator for the Virtual Learn Class Certification. Welcome to the session. This is class number 5. And if you remember, in the first two classes, we focused on tools. How do you use tools to engage? How do you use tools to deliver? How do you use tools to collaborate? So we've covered those within the first two classes. I hope that you now have your favorite tools, and you must practice. You must practice. If you run training programs, even in person, many of these tools can still be used in class. So I actually purposely use classroom screen and the timer in my in-person class here, and I purposely posted it into the group just to show you that it can be done. And people loved it. People loved it, yeah. So feel free to practice. If you can't practice the whole VLC methodology, practice different parts of it, maybe for meetings. When you do virtual meetings, you do screen sharing, you can do collaboration tools. Whatever works for an online meeting, right, is actually less intensive than if you were teaching an online class, but the fundamental tools, the fundamental approach is the same. So those are the first two classes. And then the second two classes, we talked about teaching. We talked about how do we engage people, how do we manage the audience. And I hope you guys enjoyed those two classes, because now we've moved on to the third section, which is techniques. And in techniques, we talk about how do we design our learning program, whether it is a 1 hour webinar or a 2 hour class or a full day course, or like ours, a course that runs across 4 weeks. 1 week is for prep, 2 weeks is for class with time in between for you to do your practices. And then the final week is when you do your final assessment by running a webinar based on everything you've learned. So tonight's class, class number 5, will be the first part about how do we plan the experience that our audience is going to go through. That being said, we're going to kick off with an activity where we discuss and you participate in asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to imagine that you meet me. I am a client who is looking for a trainer. I am a school principal, and my school is in the village. All right, it's in Malaysia, it's in a village, it's very far away from town, from big cities. So my school is full of school children, and their parents work either in the village or in a nearby town. They don't have the luxury of going into Kuala Lumpur or any of the big cities in Malaysia. So one day I meet you and I ask you, what do you do? And you say to me, oh, I am a trainer. I train people to learn things. And then I say to you, that's fantastic. I would like for you to do training for my school children. And you say, I am interested. So now I want you to all pretend to be one person. Okay? So Muhammad, Safia, Atayib, Wael, Dina, I want you to pretend to be one person. You are going to interview me, the client. You're going to ask me questions about the course that I want you to run. So everybody gets a quota of 2 questions. Right? Everybody gets a quota of 2 questions. You are going to ask me those questions, and then we'll move on to the next person. However, you are not allowed to repeat questions. So, for example, if Mohammed goes first and he asks me a question, Safia, you cannot use that question anymore. You have to find your own question. If everybody understood what this activity is about, give me a yes in the chat. If you have questions, please ask me now. All right. Safia asked to repeat. Here we go. I am a headmaster of a school. I have school children of various ages. Their parents are living or working in the village or in a nearby town. So this is in Malaysia. we're not in Kuala Lumpur, we're not in a big city. We are in a nice small village. It's nice and cool. We still have a lot of jungle cover. We have nice sunrises, sunsets. We have factories around near blah blah blah, but stuff like that. But basically, it's a rural area. It's nice and clean. It's a rural area, but we are in basically in a village. All right. So your task is to interview me, the client, to find out about the course that I want you to run. Okay, you can ask questions. However, if, for example, Safia goes first and she asks a question that Muhammad already planned to ask, Muhammad, you have to very quickly change the question that you're going to ask me. So everybody gets a quota of 2 questions. Everybody must listen to my answers. Okay, because if you don't listen, you might accidentally ask the same question again. All right, Safia, do you understand now?
I only have one question.
And that is?
Okay, this training
Okay,
is
no, you
supposed
can't
to
ask me the
be
question. I was
no, no, no,
talking
no,
about the
no, no,
activity.
not that. To for my questions, I mean,
Okay,
to get it. Is it
yeah.
virtual training or just a training?
That's also part of the question.
Okay,
That's also a
I'm
question. Okay.
sorry.
So Wael understands, Tayyip understands. Muhammad, how about you? Dina understands.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Here we go. So, who shall we ask first? Well, I guess since Dina is right there, Dina, your name is on the top of the list. I can see it this way. Dina, what would you like to ask me?
How old are the participants?
Very good. So they are 7 and 8 years old. Next question.
And what would you like to train them in?
I would like you to train them how to brush teeth. Thank you for the question. We're going to move on to Tayyip. Tayyip, what are
Yes,
your 2 questions?
yes, or yes, I would ask the first question is, what are the coming performance issues that your students are, or you observe it in your students?
Yeah, well, this is a good question. Okay, so you see, the reason I want this to happen is because um, a lot of the students they come to school without brushing their teeth. And if you can imagine 44 students, right, typically in a class, 44 students, and if half of them don't brush their teeth, the smell, it just wafts through the classroom and sometimes out into the corridor. And the teachers always complain to me, so I have to do something, right? Um, so I want you to teach them how to brush their teeth so that at least it creates that habit because I don't know. I don't want to blame the parents, but it's not happening. They're just not brushing the teeth. Maybe the parents are not checking, or the parents are not teaching them. I don't know. So I don't care about that. I'll focus on what's within my power. I want you to teach them how to brush teeth so that they come to school with fresh breath, and they don't
Mm.
cause my teachers any trouble.
Yes.
All right. So how many questions was that?
Yes, I would ask a second question.
Okay.
I would say, what task do you find most challenging with your students?
Um, what do you mean? In what sense?
This is in sense of their comprehension, in sense of their understanding their subjects. If
Um,
there any challenging any challenging subject they cannot understand, or they need special training on certain area.
no, they're good with their school subjects.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is
Thank you very much.
okay.
Mohammed, it's your turn. What are your 2 questions for me?
Yes, first of all, what is the time is available for me
Oh,
to
okay.
do
That's
my
a good
training?
question.
Yeah.
So I want you to train them during our school assembly on a Monday morning. You can decide which Monday morning it is, but every Monday morning we will have a school assembly. The kids will sit in our school hall. They'll sit on the floor. And I want you to come in and train them for, I'll give you about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Is there the second question, is there any computers, projectors available at the school?
Yeah, we can have a projector ready. We can have a computer ready. Is a laptop is okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, good. So you're going to be there physically. They're going to be there physically. So you train them. You'll be on stage. If you want, you can stand down off stage on the floor with them as well. But yes, we will have a projector. We'll have a screen. In fact, we have two projectors and two screens. So you could project on both sides of the room. Is that okay?
That should be wonderful.
All right. Thank you very much. Who do we have left? Sophia.
Yes.
Yes.
My first question, how many students do you have that want me to
Okay,
train?
thank you very much. 300 students.
Oh, okay. And that would that brought another question.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, what you answered Muhammad about the session, the length of the session. However, these 300, what's the time frame that you want us, or you want me to finish training them and make sure that they got the training for all the 300? I mean, together or in
Together,
session,
yeah.
or each class differently?
No, they will
all that
be in the hall. All 300 of them will be in the hall.
Okay, so it's one training
Yes, it's
for
one
all of
training.
them.
Yes, 30
Okay.
minutes.
My other question,
Wait a minute.
Would you
Wasn't that the second question?
oh yeah, that because
All right.
I wasn't
Well
prepared.
done,
Okay,
well
thank
done.
you.
Okay, who do we have left? Is it Wael? Is that you? Are you the last one?
Yes, Sophia left nothing for me to ask. You asked my question to me.
No, she has left something behind.
I know, I know.
I have two questions. I can pass it to you.
No. You asked my question already. Now, okay then. Nazreen,
Yes.
is it what is the gender? Are they all males or females or?
Oh, it's a mixed crowd, school children. We usually, when we do the assembly, they line up and sit down in their class, according to their classes. So the girls in every class will sit in front, and the boys in every class will sit at the back. So imagine, I can't draw it for you, but imagine that every class is a line that goes from front to back, and there's about 40 or 44 students in that line. So maybe if it's about the same, so 22 female students in front and then 22 male students at the back, or about that ratio. And then at the back of that class, there's another class that goes all the way back to the hall. So imagine that, there are some classes that are closer to the front of the hall, some classes that are closer to the back of the hall. And it should look like, okay, female, male in one class, and then female, male again towards the back of the hall.
I totally got the picture.
Yeah, I'll send a photo if you need one.
Yeah,
But
please do.
every line should have three classes. Yeah, no, it's two classes. So about in every line you'll have about 88 people. Yeah.
So, all right. Now, okay, my second question actually consists of two, but I'll ask one. In this
Okay.
case, do you have microphones, speakers? Since the way you mentioned, the way you described the hall or the assembly room is a bit, I would say, a bit wide. Am I right?
Yes. So we do have microphones. We have speakers built into the walls. So our setup, even though we're in a village, our setup is good enough to hold local events like weddings. So our school is often rented and used for badminton tournaments, for concerts, school concerts and stuff like that, kindergarten concerts. So we are quite well equipped. We just got a new AV system, so yep, you can use that.
Is this question already asked?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right.
Not
I
yet. It
guess.
was only asked about projectors, but you asked
Oh,
about
yeah.
microphones and speakers.
Okay, then
All
I'll
right.
leave it for now.
Your
There
two
is
questions
Nazreen
are
left?
up.
Yes.
All right. Well done. Thank you very much. Give everyone a round of applause. Now I see someone suffering there. Sophia's like, please, 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 give me, give me, give me. All right, I'll give you one question.
Okay. Would you afford the brushing tools for them? Like
No, I would like for you to provide those to them.
Okay.
Okay, that leads to the last question because nobody has asked that question. It's amazing. Nobody has asked that question. What's that question?
And I have other question also.
Okay, Wael, what's that question?
Well, I was asking about the time frame. It's gonna be in the early morning? Or you
Yes,
already
it was like I said, it was early morning, 8 a.m. During the school assembly. Okay,
okay,
Sophia, I'll give you one more question.
Okay. How would we reward these students? Like, is it gonna be that like extra grade for some subject or something that to make sure that they're well, or at least yes, to level up their commitment.
No, they won't get any rewards. Nothing planned, but I leave it up to you if you want to include any rewards for, quizzes or stuff like that.
Appreciation or something.
Yeah, that's up to you. You do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Nadia, did you have your hand up, Nadia?
Yeah, is that session free?
For them, yes, of course.
Okay.
It's amazing nobody has asked that last question. That question. Nobody's asked that question. You guys are amazing. What's that question? Why?
is it related to finances?
Sorry?
Is it related to finances? Like the
Is it
training
what?
fee related to finance, as in the training fees and so on?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I said, is it free?
Nobody's asked that question. You guys
No,
are
I
smart.
said, is it free? That's why.
For
I
Free
them,
for the students, but not
for
for
the
us.
students, yes, it is.
No. I meant like, free for
Yes.
the
So that's why
facilitator.
I answered for them, yes. But then you didn't say anything else.
Okay, my bad.
Okay, so I'll ask the question.
Um,
Oh,
okay, hold on. Let me ask it in a polite way.
Ask
Alright.
it. Ask it.
Okay, what is how do you imagine the hourly rate for the training?
You're being nice. Just ask
Right?
the question, what is the budget?
Come on, it's not that
Okay.
easy to ask. Okay, what is the budget?
Okay. It's $30 per head.
whoa.
Okay. Now things have changed, yeah?
And when I can
Go and do your calculation right now and ask yourself if it's worth it for 30 minutes work.
300.
People actually calculate.
Are those rates that you actually get?
$3,000.
Yeah, okay. So I have
9,000.
some cash I need to get rid of before
Thousand.
the year is up. And I thought maybe you could help me do that. I need to not have this cash in hand before the audit comes. Because otherwise next year, my budget will be slashed by that much. So I want to make sure that I've used it. Okay, thank you very much. Well done, everyone. So what we have just simulated is you trying to figure out how do I design this course for my audience? And your questions were perfectly valid, except for the fact that you guys were not very business sense like. You were very focused on the L&D part. Don't forget that is an important part because understanding how much the budget is determines how much you can design, how much you can give, right? So tell me, how would you imagine this to be with 300 people having, I think somebody was asking, I think Dina was asking, do they get the old toothbrush or stuff like that? I would like just someone turn on your microphone. How would you imagine this to be at that budget? What would you provide? Yes, Dina.
I think with that budget, I'll get someone dressed up as a tooth and like a giant toothbrush
Okay.
and then like simulate it for them.
Okay.
That's my first thought.
All right. Would you spend time talking about the benefits of brushing teeth?
Yes, definitely.
So you have 30 minutes. You have to make sure all 300 know how to brush their teeth. What would you
Yeah.
include? What would you disinclude?
Okay.
Actually, with this budget,
Yeah. Okay. So you have that budget, you have that number. How many people will you involve to help you out? Are you going to
Well,
be the only one there?
probably not with that budget. Like
Right,
I
right.
would try to think of other things that like some activities that can be done, like just demonstration, because it's not enough time for the kids to do anything.
Okay. How many people do you think will be assisting you while?
Well, based on the seating setup that you've mentioned, I will actually hire some people to assist me in the demonstration.
Yes.
I would probably think about it. Actually, I've been. Uh, it's a funny story. It happened to me when I was young in
Oh,
Abu
yeah,
Dhabi.
really?
Yeah, it's the same exercise.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, what did I just do with you? I wanted to give you an opportunity to think about how do we design for our learners. This would be easy because it's in person. How do we design for our learners if it's online? My goodness. So, let me introduce you to a method called optics. Optics was designed by my teacher, Ganesh Dalvi, who is based in India. And when the VLC started, at the same time, he developed his own version of VLC called FOLKS, FOLKS, and he calls it Facilitating Online Learning and Knowledge Sharing, FOLKS. So once we got to know about each other's existence, I took all of the facilitators I had in Malaysia, except for you, Nadia. I apologize. We didn't have you then. We didn't have you then. And we went to study from Ganesh. So not physically, of course. We enrolled in folks to make sure that we could also upgrade the VLC certification. So this is not designed by the VLC or by me. This was adopted and Ganesh Dalvi allowed us to adopt it. The only thing I changed was I added the S and I gave this back to him, and now he uses optics. He gave us optic, we gave him back optics. So what questions do we ask? How do we identify the needs and the constraints of the client or the learners, right? So optics stands for these objectives, people, time, infrastructure, costing, and structure. So, what is objectives? It is what is the level of impact the client wants to achieve. So, we have 4 levels of impact according to the Kirkpatrick model. If you don't know what the Kirkpatrick model is, don't panic, don't worry. It's just a way to measure the level of impact of a course. So if the client says, we just want to have fun, we just want to have a good time, get them to be, we want to reward them and have fun. Okay, so that is what we call reaction. We do a lot of gamification, we do games. Whether they remember what they thought they learned on, that's okay. We don't need that. We just want them to have fun. Or the impact is we want them to be able to learn and remember what they learn. Remember the terminologies, remember the techniques. If we ask them like 1 week later, 3 weeks later, they will be able to recall and say, yes, the VLC has 6 classes. The first class is this, second class is this, third class is this, right? So we want to be able to aim for that level. Or we can aim for behavior level, which is much higher, which is after they come for the course, their behavior actually changes. Okay, they start doing things in a different way. So my question to you, you have attended 4.5 classes right now, right? And some of you at aha moments like, wow, this tool is really good. Hey, I never knew about Sage and Facilitator and stuff like that. So my question to you, just give me a yes or no, and don't be shy. Feel free to say no. After 4.5 classes, do you believe your behavior will change when you run virtual classes or at minimum when you run virtual meetings? What do you think? Dina says yes. So, Dina, could you share with us how do you think it'll change your behavior in how you work, in how you do things, and how you run stuff online?
Well, for sure, being more aware of my voice
Okay.
and my tone.
Anything else?
Yeah, and using the tools, like I would plan ahead so that I could incorporate the tools in a, in a very useful way,
Mm-hmm.
and also
Do you
like
teach?
structuring.
Do you teach a lot online?
No,
No, but you do run meetings online, yeah?
yes,
Okay. So at minimum, you learn new things, but it doesn't just stay in your head. You're like, okay, this can actually, something I can do this. So if we aim for behavior change, let's take a look at our toothbrushing class, right? Um, if I were to give you 30 minutes to 300 people for $9,000, what level would you be able to aim for? Reaction, learning, or behavior change? Everyone tell me in the chat. Just have those parameters, right? Which would you be able to aim for? Reaction, learning, or behavior? It's a promise, eh? It's a promise you must fulfill. When a school teacher said, okay, so Tayyip said behavior. Anyone else? Nobody wants a promise. Muhammad says learning. Dina says behavior. Wael says reaction and learning. You can only aim one. You can aim for the higher one. So if you say learning, that means you automatically include reaction already. Okay. So I want you to remember this, right? You are making the promise that all 300 students would be able to prove that they've learned and they remember what they've learned. If we give them an exam, if we give them a test, they should all be able to demonstrate that they have learned. This is the promise that you are making when you say learn. When you say behavior, you are promising that all 300 children will change their behavior positively after the 30 minutes engagement. Would you like to revise your answers? Anyone? So this is why we are very pedantic about things like this. Because when you ask the order, the client says, I'm giving you $9,000, but 30 minutes only. I would not dare to even recommend learning level. Okay, if you want me to aim for learning, okay, you got to give me more than 30 minutes, man. And I'm going to have to import some really good facilitators to help me out. If you want behavior change, then give me three slots, 30 minutes today, and then 30 minutes the next week, and then 30 minutes another week, so that I can actually track their behavior, so that I can actually come back and tell you, okay, 65% of them have changed their behavior, they are now brushing their teeth. If you aim for results, then you must be able to measure that not only are they brushing their teeth, which is behavior, but their teeth are measurably cleaner. That means you need to bring in a dentist to do a before and after test. Now, tell me yes or no. Do you see that the higher the impact that you promise, the more difficult and the more expensive it becomes because you need to do testings and assessments? Do you see that? All right. That's why most training programs around the planet and even in Malaysia go only as high as learning. At the end of the course, they'll give them a test. If they answer the test, when do they get the test? They get the test after the course, yeah, immediately after the course. Of course, they remember. Give the test 6 months later. So a lot of them will say by the end of this course, they will be able to remember this. Yeah, you can make that promise. But if you say by the after 6 months, they will remember this, that you're shooting yourself in the foot. So be very careful what you promise to the client, and be brave to push back when the client says, "Oh, I want result change. I'm giving you 30 minutes and $9,000." I think if you give me $100,000, I can probably buy a machine that can hypnotize all of these kids so that they actually brush their teeth. But you give me 30 minutes, that's not going to work. All right. If you understood that, give me an N in the chat. N for Nazrin. If you have questions, ask me now. Okay, you're getting confused because I normally do N for no, right? Okay, fantastic. Let's move on. The rest are easier, I guess. People, we talk about the demographics. We talk about how much do they know before they come to the course. Yeah, I don't know if you've experienced this before, but sometimes a trainer who doesn't do their due diligence, or maybe the salesperson didn't do their due diligence, the trainer pops up and starts teaching something that they already know. So they don't know what is the level of what's the word, subject matter expertise that the client or the participants already have. They come in and they start from basic, but the client expected an intermediate or an advanced expert course. So you need to know what they already know and what they don't know. And the third one, because we're designing for virtual learning, you need to know whether they are experienced in using Zoom, whether they're experienced in accessing online repositories. Do you know how to use WhatsApp? Because during the pandemic, we had a lot of these problems. They couldn't even sign into the Zoom. They didn't even know how to sign into Zoom. So we had backwards and forwards problems. And here's some history lessons for you guys. So VLC, the first batch was in April 2020, just when the whole planet went into lockdown. So as the planet went to lockdown, we went into action and we launched the first VLC. 40 people. There's 9 people in this class. Yeah, we had to manage 40 people because everybody wanted to learn. They needed it to be able to earn a living, right? So the first batch was 40 people. The second batch was the month after. Excuse me. 40 people also. Guess what? It was a request from an organization called the Malaysian Institute of Management. They sent 40 people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Some of them have never signed up to Zoom in their life. So you can imagine what their prep week was like. We had to walk them through every single thing. It was a good experience, but it was heartbreaking because they were literally in the WhatsApp group says, "I'm stuck, help me." So I actually went to 2 people's houses. I can't do that for you right now, but I actually went to 2 people's houses to be able to help them log in. So you need to know what the learning experience is, and you can push back the client says, "I'm sorry, I only want participants who are experienced working or learning online. That will help me to do things faster." All right. So again, if you have questions, you can ask me at any time. Then we talk about time. Time, of course, is how much time are you giving me to be able to deliver this? You want results, but you give me 30 minutes? No, that's not. I'm going to say no. So feel free to say no or recommend something based on your understanding. So if you want results, well, minimum. Okay, so I'll tell you what I do, right? For results, what we normally aim for is 100 days, a 2-day workshop, and then 90 days worth of coaching. And not every day, of course. Every week or every 2 weeks, we will coach the participants either individually or in groups. So we call this a 100-day journey. And I don't know if I told you this, my current client is Porsche. Porsche, the car, like Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche in Malaysia. And last year, we ran a leadership program, which lasted 6 months, not 3 months, 6 months. And instead of just results, there's another level. If you read this, reaction, learning, behavior, results, there's another level that's well known, which is ROI, return on investment. So when we met the client CEO, his name was Chris Hunter. He says, "I want them to change their behavior." So we said, "Okay, behavior change is going to take 3 months." He says, "I'll give you 6 months." Okay. So we ran the program for 20. It fluctuated, sometimes 20, sometimes 23 managers, branch managers who at the branches that sold the cars, the marketing manager, the HR manager, so manager level. We accidentally hit level 5, which was ROI, not level 1, which is reaction, or level 2, learning. We accidentally hit level 5. So we got learning, we got behavior change, we got results, and those results translated into a lot of money. So the ROI, the return on the investment, actually paid for the cost. The CEO was so happy. This year, they've been giving us another batch to do. But this is not a 6 month. This is it is a 5 month journey without coaching. Yeah, the previous batch I did coaching. This batch is their own managers doing the coaching. So, do you understand what I've just explained to you in terms of designing according to time, being able to push back with the client to explain to them, you want that level, it's going to take more time. If you want reaction, yes, I can do half a day or 2 days. All right. So tell me that you understand in the chat or ask me questions. Give me a yes or questions. All right. If you're not familiar with this type of designing, some people, some trainers, when they design, they just open up a PowerPoint deck and they start putting in slides. Okay, we don't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore. You need to really pay attention to how you design your course. Must be professional about it. So in order to be professional, you have to collect information, data gathering to understand the client's needs. All right. Now we start talking about infrastructure, and that's where constraints come in. My God, I've had so much constraints. Did I already tell you this? No, I think I told you this before we started the recording just now. I had a client give me participants who sign in on their PC, on their personal computer, without a microphone, without a webcam, without speakers, which means that they all they saw was just moving slides. Yeah, they could type in the chat, but we could type back, but they couldn't join in. So several of them actually did that, and I spoke to the client. It was my fault. I forgot to ask. I made assumptions. I assumed they knew that they needed a microphone or a speaker, things like that. So since that, I have never assumed anymore. I will ask. Then we have device specifications. Some devices cannot install Zoom because of, it's an old device. And of course, the very famous IT circuit limitations. I think everyone knows Azara is facing that. Tomorrow I'm doing a half day for HSBC, which is a bank famous in Singapore and in Malaysia. I'm doing growth mindset for half a day, for 4 hours. And the best part is I've been running this for about 2.5 years now for different batches. When they sign on Zoom, they cannot type into the chat. They can't read anything in the chat. They can't type in anything in the chat. They cannot go into breakout rooms. So their IT department locks all of these functions down, and it stresses us out so much. But thank God, the people they send, we have discussions in the main room. We turn on microphones, turn on our cameras, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But it gets frustrating because you can't use the tools that you want to. Some companies, they even lock down access to outside websites. So they cannot access Padlet, they cannot access Google Slides, Google Docs. So you want to find out before you design your program, before you design your class, what limitations do they have that can make life difficult for you as a VLC? All right. Money, costing. I don't have to spend too much time on this one. Basically, you know what they say? Good, fast, cheap. If you want good and fast, it's not going to be cheap. If you want cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. Anyone hear of this one before? If you want good and cheap, it's not going to be fast. It's going to be very slow. So if you think about this, it can work even if you are a freelancer or you are working within a company, because how you design something depends on how much money you're allocated. Last but not least is structure. We added structure in because we want to know what is the combination of on-site or on-system and on-virtual that they want. So taking the example of Porsche, it is a hybrid combination of 2 days in classroom and then coaching. Some of the coaching is in person. Some of them they are from branches around the country. So I do virtual coaching with them. And we have oh, that's it. We only had classroom and coaching. That's it. In the case of VLC, we have on system and on virtual only, no on site. What is on site? Face to face. So what is on virtual right now? You and I, this is on virtual. What is on system? Google Classroom and WhatsApp. So we work on a system. We work on a platform. All right. So this is optics. What questions do you have for me? If you have no questions, give me an N in the chat and we shall proceed. Okay. If you have questions, just turn on your microphone and ask. So you take optics into your meetings with your clients and find out what do they want, what do they need, and what they cannot provide to you. Oh, we cannot give you access to our participants' phone numbers. Okay, that's done. Then I can't add them to a WhatsApp group. Can I add them to a Telegram group? Because Telegram groups don't show the phone numbers. They say, okay, Telegram is better then. All right. And I go, how about you create the WhatsApp group? Okay, you invite them in. If they don't come, whoever doesn't come in, that's it, no problem. But whoever comes in will get virtual support. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about learning objectives. So any good L&D practitioner, any good trainer will know that we need to have learning objectives to make sure that we design our program to be targeted, not just our nafs, not just follow our desires. Oh, I think we should put in this slide. Or I think we should put in this model, this framework. No, you have to be a professional. Therefore, you start with designing your learning objectives. So what is a learning objective? It is a promise that you make at the beginning of the course about what the participants will gain after the course ends, right? So first is it must be participant focused. It must be time-based. You say by the end of this virtual course, learners will be able to do what? It must be practical and accessible. Select and master, manage and teach, utilize. So practical means that I need to know that you are able to pick up this skill. How do I assess that? Well, I design the assessment. Practice 1, I want to see that you have the ability to share screen, share whiteboard, share Padlet. If you can do these 3 things, you're ready to be a VLC. That's the bare minimum. Okay. Practice number 2, I want to see that you are able to create a Google Classroom and populate it. Practice number 3, I want to see that you are able to, with body language and tone of voice and facial expression, be excited to share about your hobby. And then practice number 4 is, I want to see that you are able to write a script that identifies the inform and the instruct. So they have to be accessible. That means you must be able to assess their level of knowledge. Okay. Last but not least is the beginning of every learning objective must always have a verb. Select and master, manage and teach, utilize. Okay. What questions do you have? If you understood this, give me an N in the chat. Okay, let's move on. So, how do we create learning objectives? Well, we have a fantastic framework that was designed in 1956 by Benjamin Bloom, an educator. He says, okay, I want to help teachers to learn how to design their learning objectives so they can design their classes, their education for their students. So he says that, well, if you have verbs like select and master, manage and teach, utilize, these are pretty standard verbs. Can I get something a bit more sophisticated? So he created the taxonomy of remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. He says that whenever you design your program or your course or your class, ask yourself, what is it you want them to be able to do? If you want them to be able to remember and understand, these are some verbs that you can use. Okay. Now, these verbs are actually updated in 2008 by Andrew Churches, because not only is it the traditional writing, describing, all of that, he's put in things like Googling, tweeting, journaling. So he's updated the list to be more 21st century. If you want them to aim higher, not just remember and understand, they must be able to apply and analyze their work within the classroom, within the virtual classroom. When I give you a case study, I want you to analyze this. When I give you a scenario, I want you to be able to analyze this. That means not only do you remember and understand, you are able to use it on a case study and understand it. You can break down all that information for you to understand. All right. Last but not least is evaluating and creating. Now that you understand and you're able to analyze, you can apply it there. Can you create something new? I would love for you to create something new. Okay, you come for the VLC. You remember the terminologies I gave you. You remember SAGE, facilitator, teacher, instructor. Good. Do you understand? Okay, do you understand that you must do it this way? You must design like this. You must use different tones of voice. Do you understand? Yes. Are you able to apply that in real life? So that's why your practices is for me to know that you're able to apply, that you're able to analyze your own work and confirm that, yep, I did it right. Last but not least is when you do your final assessment, that final exam, when you create a new webinar that has never existed before, based on everything that you saw in the classes. So if you're able to do this, that means that I have managed to aim you to be able to go as high as creating. In schools and universities, the highest they normally go is either understanding or analyzing. Okay, in schools is analyzing. Sorry, it's understanding. In university, it goes up to as analyzing, but very rarely do you get to creating, unless you're studying TVET, or I don't know. Do you have TVET in the Middle East? Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me just type into the chat. Do you have TVET? So TVET is technical skills like plumbing, electrical, welding. So imagine going to university and you learn only the theory of plumbing, but you don't actually do. Yeah. Vocational, yes. So TVET, the V stands for vocational. Technical, vocational, electrical, something, something. So I apologize for using a term that's too localized. So if you go to university, you probably get up to analyzing. But if you go to a vocational school, you get all the way up to creating, right? Do you understand this concept? Give me a yes or no. All right. So Benjamin Bloom said, let me create a resource to help teachers create their learning objectives. Why? Because learning objectives are very important. Your whole learning design depends on getting the right learning objectives. So what are some examples I can show you? Now, I want you to read this sample of 6 learning objectives. After attending this workshop, learners will be able to do the following. I would like for you to guess what subject or what course is this about? Please tell me in the chat. Read the learning objectives and then try and guess what kind of course is this. My teachers tell me that if you write your learning objectives correctly, when the participants read the learning objectives, they will be able to see and know that this course is about this. So here's the question. Dina says, leadership, thank you. Anyone else? So Dina believes it's a leadership course. Come on, guys. Okay, Altayeb says leadership. All right. Any other ideas? If you agree with leadership, you just type in leadership. You don't have to wait for anyone else. Brother Mohammed, Wael, how about you? Safia, what do you think it is? Leadership development? Okay, I shall not torture you any further. Yes, this is one of my programs titled LEAP, Leading for Excellence, Action, and Performance. Let's take a look at another one. After attending this workshop, learners will be able to do the following: analyze problems into processes, decision, relationship, blah, 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 blah. What do you think this course is about? Please tell me in the chat. Oh, wow, you guys are really reading it. Okay, Sophia says problem solving. All right. Problem solving, decision making. Okay, thank you, Dina. Dina, I don't know what that A stands for. Because I think when you registered, you just put in Dina. Okay, while it says I second Dina. Oh, that's not fair. Anyone else? We have 3 people saying problem solving and decision making. Where's my brothers? Mama says problem solving. Okay, I won't torture you anymore. Spot on. This is also another one of my courses. I call it speed, solving problems efficiently, effectively, and decisively. All right, last one. Let's see if you get this. What course do you think this is? Altair says presentation skills. Thank you. While it says IE, what is IE? Maybe it's a term used over there, but I'm not aware of it. International experience? Anyone else? Mohammed says presentation skills, public speaking. Nice. 5, 4, 3. Oh, emotional intelligence. Okay, 2, 1. Well done. Thank you very much. So this is close, pretty close. So I guess it's my fault, I guess. I did not write it clearly enough. Ironic, because that's the title of the course. It's communicating logically, empathically, and responsively. All right. Thank you very much for that. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a case study. I'm going to read it out to you, and then I want you to come out with your learning objectives for this case study. All right, here we go. So a client has emailed me, and the client says, "Hi, Nazrin. As discussed in our meeting, we want a 2-day workshop for our senior managers who are having a tough time managing their subordinates, who are older than them and are actually lesser educated." So I don't know if you see this in the Middle East, managers who are younger than their staff because their staff are highly educated, so they cannot get promoted. Plus, they don't have the ability to manage teams anyway. So younger people are brought in to manage them. These senior managers are stressing out every day. And you know, the company was recently bought over by a millennial corporation, which means that the company is a legacy company, it's an old company, but was bought over by a company that's run by young people. So the new senior managers leading this merged entity are in their late 20s, and they are used to people cooperating. Suddenly they come into this company and the people are not cooperating. The gap is challenging to bridge as the subordinates are still angry about having younger people above them. But as I mentioned, most of the problematic ones are due to retire in the next 6 months anyway. So we're hoping you can come up with something that can help them with their stress levels, at least until they get newer stuff. With the new projects coming up, anything more than that might be too much for them to handle. So anything like communication workshops, etc., we can hold off until next year. So now I want you to come up with learning objectives for a 2-day workshop that fit the requirement. Look at the requirement. Be very careful, yeah? They don't need a communication workshop. They just need a stress management workshop. So I want everyone here to come up with one. I'll just say one learning objective. What, by the end of these 2 days, what will they be able to do? I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Please type in your answer into the chat. Thank you, Brother Mohammed. That is not a learning objective. It's 2 words. What will they be able to learn? What will they be able to do after these 2 days? So you must write down by the end of these 2-day workshop, participants will be able to do what? Remember that the learning objective must start with a verb. So please rewrite that one. All right, there we go. So after this 2-day workshop, Dina says they will be able to identify stressful situations. Mohammed says they will be able to control their emotions. Good. Let's see what else others can come up with. Safia says, by the end of the workshop, the senior managers will be able to identify their feelings and what triggers them. Nice. All right. Let's look for everyone else. What can you come up with? So we got, this is interesting because I think Dina, Mohammed, and Safia came up with different ones. So we could actually put all of them together into the same course. All right. Tayyip, Wael, where are you? We miss you. Wael says, by the end of this 2-day workshop, the learners will be able to organize and assemble teams effectively. Tayyip says, by the end of these 2 days, learners will be able to engage and communicate effectively with subordinates. All right. Anybody else? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, I want you to look very carefully at the answers, yeah? Dina, Muhammad, and Safia have focused on the client's request, which is stress management. While and Tayyip have not focused on the client's request. They have gone ahead and proposed something that is outside of the scope. So if you were to put these all 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 learning objectives in front of the client for the client to sign off, to agree, which do you think they will sign off on? And if in fact they might say, were you not listening? I clearly said we're not going to do any communication courses. We want a course to help them manage their stress. So why are these learning objectives here? Okay, why am I being very pedantic with you? Because I've gone through this many times with clients, and they go like, you don't know what we want. So I'm being very strict with you guys here. Be very, very clear what the learning objectives are covering, because that will be the scope of your project. Think of it as a project. That will be the scope of what you deliver. All right. Thank you very much for participating. What questions do you have? If you have no questions and you understand this, give me an N in the chat. And don't be shy about asking questions. I'm never shy to answer them. All right, very cool. And guys, if you do have questions, just turn on your microphones, yeah? While you have a question, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just raising my hand. So, okay, Nazreen, let's think about it this way. From reading the statement or the mail or the message, right? I've noticed that within 6 months, most of the staff, the senior staff, would retire. Am I right? It's already
That's right.
stated there.
But the
Right.
program will not be in the next 6 months. It will be immediate.
So they need an immediate solution.
Yes.
Okay. I understand now.
Okay, good. So the immediate solution is to help them manage their stress, because there is not much of a solution for the grouses that they have. They want to solve that one. So we go with the client. What does the client need? They said, we got projects coming up. We cannot release them for communication courses or leadership courses. We just want you to be able to help them manage their stress. Yeah, and then the next 6 months, most of the problematic ones are gone anyway. So at least have them keep strong for the next 6 months. That's all we want. So this is why learning objectives are very important, because there have been moments where we design a course that's sophisticated, very fantastic, but it doesn't meet the client. No, it doesn't even meet the participants' needs, right? We are teaching them all sorts of techniques and stuff, and they go, we don't need this. We just need to be able to do something else. And trainers in Malaysia, and myself, I made this mistake as well. We design what we know, not what they need. We design the course based on what we know. not what the participants need. And that is very dangerous. All right. Thank you very much for the question. So when we have our learning objectives, we need to build the outline of the course. So what does the outline look like? Watch this, right? This is a real course that I designed and I still run to this day. This is the leadership workshop, which is LEAP, Leading for Excellence, Action, and Performance. Okay. So what are the guidelines for creating this outline? Number one is, this is my recommendation. You don't have to follow it if you don't need to, but I find it's very, very clean and effective. So you see 6 bullet points. Those are 6 learning objectives. So what I do is I create for one learning objective, one that it covers 120 minutes of content. So for example, if a class starts at 9 a.m. and it finishes at 11 a.m. and then we go for a break, this is 120 minutes of content. Now, what I normally do here, because of the way timings work, work timings in Malaysia happens, I do 105 minutes, 105. And then in case there's questions and answers, then we can go all the way to 120. But usually I do 9 o'clock to 10:45 a.m. That's one slot. That's one module. Number 2, we sequence the learning objectives by prerequisite. I want you to read the 6 bullet points and tell me, can I put the 6th bullet point first? Or can I put the 5th bullet point first? Yes or no? Can I rearrange them? Will it make sense? What do you think? Dina says no. Dina, could you turn on your microphone? Tell me why you said no.
In the case of identify and develop potential in followers, it's like first they have to identify their priorities and build the rapport before they can like get to know their people before they can figure out their potential and develop them. So
fantastic. I like that. So it makes it easy for the client to read. It makes it easy for the participants to read. It makes sense that the learning objectives are also the content. So when we sequence it by prerequisite, we're essentially already sequencing the content from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. So then what do? The next step is to match the learning objectives to the modules themselves. So here is my outline for LEAP. I'm color coding them. I want you to see that the same color is the learning objective that's being matched to the module. So, for example, if the learning objective is transform a control mindset into a leadership collaborative mindset, what could we name that module? I call it empowering performance. Identify and understand their people's priorities and communication style. I name that knowing people. Adapt their behavior to build trust and rapport with their people. I call it navigating relationships. Adapt their leadership styles and responses to their followers. I call this dynamic leadership. Identify and develop potential in followers. I call this coaching for growth. And develop purpose and integrity in themselves and their people. I call this developing purpose. So when I do this, it's easy for me to design the course because I don't have to think, hang on, is this 1 bullet point, 2 modules? Where does it go? No, I design it in such a way, each learning objective expands into a module. All right. So we're not going to talk too much more about this. What questions do you have? If you have no questions, give me an N in the chat and we shall proceed. Easy to understand? Okay. If you look inside the Google Classroom, you will find samples of my workshop outlines in case you want to see how the learning objectives match to the modules. Okay, here we go. Now that we have that set, we need to start designing the program itself. We need to design the experience itself. So I would like to ask you this question. what are the benefits of learning through trial and error? No one teaches you, you learn from your own mistakes. So, who would like to turn on their microphone and tell me what is the benefit of learning by experience? Nobody teaches you, you make your own mistakes. What is the benefit of this? If there's no volunteers, I shall volunteer someone. 5, 4.
Okay.
Okay, Sophia, come.
First thing that whatever you learn, you will never forget.
Oh, yes. Why?
Because yeah, okay. It's 100% told with your background, with your growing, with your way of thinking. Even the times that you fail, because this is how you think, this is how you act, this is the orientation of you. But trying and trying, that's the movement. It comes slowly, and you will, well, when you experience even the hard thing, especially whenever you fail, you will never forget that. You don't want to repeat your fails, your faults.
Yes, yes. I like that. So we tend to learn from our experience. Nobody teaches us because there's an emotional component. It hits us so hard that we go, nope, I'm never going to do this again. All right. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to ask another question. Ataib has his microphone on. I hope you are ready for this question. What is the disadvantage? You got the pros. Dina said the pros. What's the disadvantage of experiential learning? Learning through experience.
Mm,
Are you there, Ataib?
am
Your connection might not be strong, I think, because we can't hear you. All right, I'm going to ask someone else. Brother Muhammad, are you there? Would you like to answer this question? What is the disadvantage of experiential learning?
Yes, sir. From my point of view, I found it time consuming
Oh, yes. It's time
and
consuming.
sometimes it's risky
Risky. What do you mean by risky?
because it depends on what you learn. Like, if you try to jump above a bridge, you may die. So you cannot say, I will not do that again.
No, no. You can only learn it once, yeah? Okay, well done.
Yeah, you
Thank you very much.
can.
So I'm going to introduce you another one, which is called academic learning, which means learning from somebody else. Learning from somebody else's experience, but you don't go through the same experience. So if it's learning from your father or your mother, this is what we call academic learning because that person has formatted, has processed that learning into a story or into a procedure step by step. This is how you do it. But basically, you're getting it secondhand. So, Safia has volunteered. Mohammed has been voluntold. I'm going to ask Dina, what are the benefits of academic learning? Not learning through experience, but learning through somebody else's experience. What do you think?
Well, as you said, it's already kind of been processed and structured. Yeah, and like you basically just get the conclusion of
Right.
other people's experiences.
Yes, that's good. Thank you very much. Now we go to ask Weil. Weil, what is the disadvantage of academic learning?
Well, the disadvantage of academic learning. Well, the only way I think about it, Nazreen, is it requires belief on the facilitator or the trainer.
Mhm.
That if you don't believe in him, if you don't understand him, if you don't think that whatever he's saying is actually um, a true or valid, you won't benefit from it, or
Oh, that's interesting.
you will not
If,
actually adopt it.
yeah. But if you went through it yourself, you experienced it yourself, you believe it, right?
Yes, exactly. But now it has something to do with the generations as well. As I understand, some generations will prefer the experiential learning, and some other prefer the academic learning as well.
Okay. I like this. Thank you very much, guys. So there's pros and cons. How do we get the best of both worlds? How do we use both at the same time so that we get to impart learning to people? Well, if you take experiential learning and you merge it with academic learning, this is what we call facilitated learning. So I'm going to give you an example, yeah? If you have children, would you say that one day your child will definitely touch a hot mug of coffee? Yes or no? I repeat the question, yeah? If you have children, can you accept the fact, can you say that one of these days they will definitely touch a hot mug of coffee? Yes or no? Yes. So here's the thing, right? If it hasn't happened yet, there is two possibilities. They touch the hot mug when you are not around, and then they spill it all over themselves, and they get experiential learning. Or you teach them and you say, okay, the mug is hot, don't touch it. You speak it to them. When we merge both together, the second possibility is that we preempt that accident by giving them, by facilitating their learning. So how do we do this? I want you to imagine you have a hot mug of coffee and you take your son's hand and you tap, not press it, you tap his hand on the mug. Tell me what happens when you tap his hand on the mug. Tell me what happens. Tell me in the chat. What happens when you tap his hand on the mug? Anyone? Mama says he'll never touch it again. He goes out and takes his hand away. The kid will understand and avoid doing it. All right. So how do we do this? Did we press his hand against the mug? No. We slowly tapped and pulled it away. We are the ones who did it. So what are we doing? Thank you, Safia. We are giving him an experience. I repeat, yeah, we are giving him an experience. So when he has an experience, if we allow him to experience it himself, he might come to the wrong conclusions. For example, they buy a car and then they crash the car and then they say, I'll never buy this car again. But the problem is that they made that conclusion themselves. Yeah. If they had learned that there was something wrong with that car, not all brands of that particular car, then they will know that, okay, actually I made a mistake. I should have read the reviews, I should all of this. So facilitated learning is mixing experiential, the best of experiential learning and academic learning. So here's what we do, right? You tap your son's hand on the mug. He has an experience. His brain is going, what is this? If you leave him for too long, he will make his own conclusions. And as I think, as Mohammed says, he will never touch it again because he had such a bad experience. But if you tap, and it's safe, he has the experience, then you say to him, son, this mug is hot. You are now labeling it, you're giving him knowledge. And then you take another mug, which is cold, you tap, and you say, son, this mug is cold. You are creating the label. Once they have that experience and you tell them what that experience is about, they understand fully. But if you do only academic learning and you say, okay, do not touch hot mugs, they will not be able to understand. All right. So I've been going very slow because I want to make sure you get it. Do you understand what I've just explained to you? Yes or no? All right. If you have questions, please ask. Okay, you understand this concept. Now, how do we make use of it? Please go ahead.
Yes, it's not a question. I was raising my hand. But after what you said that, I think maybe many of the childhood traumas happen because of experiences that weren't facilitated right.
That's right. Because they made their own conclusion that all mugs are bad.
Yes.
Yes. And that can lead
And I
to
think also like even then like maybe would yell at you, be like, why did you touch that?
that's right. That's
So
right. So they
instead
can
of
make
being like
bad
that
decisions because they
it's hot,
came
you
to,
shouldn't touch it, be careful next time.
yes. They make bad decisions because they came to the wrong conclusions. Thank you very much for that. So how do we operate? How do we
You're
make this
breaking
work?
up.
I am testing 1 2 3. Am I breaking up,
Sorry,
guys?
No,
I
I
didn't
think
hear anything.
it's your connection, Dina.
Oh,
Oh,
it's me? Okay.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank you very
it's
much.
showing now it's unstable. Yeah.
So here's the question is, how do we make this work? We understand this concept. How do we make it work? Well, if you did your prep week, you would know what I'm going to talk about, right? So let's take the sample of my course, which is LEAP, and we take one module, just one module, which is called dynamic leadership. Okay. So we have a section where we ask the participants, what are the qualities of leadership? Why do we ask this? We want them to have an experience. So there are two ways to do this. We can ask them for a past experience, something they've experienced in the past, or we do an activity for them to have a new experience, a current experience right now. So when I do Padlet with you guys, okay, let's enjoy having Padlet. Oh, I do Google Sites. Okay, enjoy building this Google site. I'm giving you a new experience. But if I ask you a question, go back into your past, I'm asking you to recall an experience. All right? We do that first. Now that you recall your experience, or you have experienced something new experience, we move into the second section, which is K. All right? We start with A, and then we do K. Now, to test whether you did your prep week correctly, what does A and K stand for? Type into the chat. What does A and K stand for? Type into the chat. All right, Dina wins the prize. It is awareness followed by knowledge. We create an experience, tap, tap, tap on the mug, and then we tell them this is what the experience means. So we ask the participants, tell us, what are the qualities of leadership that you have seen before? Oh, my boss is very straight to the point. He doesn't waste time. He tells us what he wants. It's easy for us. Or my boss trusts us very much. He will give us the work and he doesn't micromanage us. He lets us do it. And then when we're done, we'll give it to him, right? He's never around. We don't see him bothering us. He trusts us to do the work. Oh, my boss is very caring. He's always asking if we need his help. And he always says, my door is open for you at any time. And he sits with us and he coaches us and he helps us to develop. He helps us to empower ourselves. We feel really good because he doesn't give us answers, but he helps us to find our own answers. Oh, my boss is always there, right? We can depend on him because whenever we have a problem, he comes in and he helps us fix it, right? We feel like he is part of the team, not just a superior. So that's what happens in A. Then we say, thank you very much, everyone, for your answers. I really enjoyed listening to you share about your previous superiors. Guess what? All of those experiences you had can be explained by a model called leadership styles, right? Some of you have had bosses who are very directing, right? They go straight to the point. They're very driven. They're very efficient. They're very effective. Some of your bosses trust you so much that you get to decide. They empower you to make decisions. You get to decide. Some bosses are very developing. They're caring. They help you to choose. They don't give you the answers, but they ask questions. They coach you. They help you to figure things out. And then there's the boss who is hands-on. At all times, he is in the pit with you. He is struggling with you. He's suffering with you. He is there solving problems with you. Now, pretend that you were my participants attending my course. How would you understand what I just explained to you? How would you understand what I just explained to you? Please turn on your microphone and volunteer and answer if you were attending this particular module. I do not see a volunteer, so we're going to start voluntolding. Brother Weil, sir, if you were attending this course, this workshop, right, this single module, dynamic leadership, and I did that to you, I asked you to come up with what examples of quality of leadership you have. Your team discusses it and they come up with many different answers. And then I show you that, hey, your answers is not just random, it can be explained by this theory. While, how would you react?
How would I react, or what would be my thoughts?
Your thoughts, your reaction, what do you think?
My thoughts would be that sometimes I question that people's behavior, does it have any sort of theoretical theoretical part that we can link with. And if we did this exercise, the first thing would be, now I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try something else now. Imagine that I didn't do the awareness activity.
Okay.
Imagine that I said, okay, welcome to the course. All right. Today we're going to be talking about leadership styles. Okay, there are 4 leadership styles: directing, delegating, developing, and problem solving. Now, would you understand it as easy as if I did not do the awareness activity?
No, I would probably memorize it in a million year,
right?
But no, I would never understand it.
Okay,
Like
so
100% understand.
this is why we do it. We generate an experience, whether it's a past experience or a new experience, and then we help them understand that experience with knowledge, with a framework, with a theory, with a model, okay? And it starts making sense to them. Why? Because it relates to them as adults. So awareness and knowledge. I saw a hand go up. Safia, was that you? Was it Safia or was it you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you wanted to say something?
At that moment, it was
Okay.
like,
You can
yes,
still say it.
just like if you get the knowledge without the awareness, as Wael said, he might remember it, but it's hard to link it to the real life. Maybe
Right.
I have this issue or I have this thing, but I won't get the benefit from it if I don't know what's in it for me.
I like that. Everyone, please write that down somewhere. What's in it for me? So why we do awareness activities in the beginning is to get them to realize that what we're teaching them is useful to them. Because if you start with leadership styles, it's just like school, just like university. Okay, imagine coming into Economics 101, an introduction course in university. You walk into class, professor says, everybody, welcome to the class. This is Economics 101, Introduction to Economics. All right, please look at the slide. Definition of economics. Economics is blah, 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 blah. Safia, would you be able to understand, or would you be able to relate that this course is for you?
I may not follow.
Oh, what is this professor talking about? Okay, let's try something else. All right, welcome to Economics 101, Introduction to Economics. I would like to select a few people. Okay, so Dina, Safia, Tayyib, Mohammed, Wael. All right, please come to the front. All right, one of you will be the bank. One of you will be a trader. One of you will be a customer. One of you will be a producer, right? What do you produce? Let's say you produce chicken, right? You are a farmer, you produce chicken. All right, everyone, please watch this. We're going to simulate an economic cycle. How one person gets to produce, and then this person has to buy, but he needs to get money from the bank. So he goes to work and the bank pays him money, and da 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 da. Okay, therefore that's an economic cycle. So let's take a look at the definition of economics. Economics is blah, 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 blah. Would you find it easier, Safia, to understand it that way?
Definitely.
Thank you. So this is why we do awareness activities first and then knowledge activities. But the process doesn't end. Just because they know it doesn't mean they believe it. So then we have to do something called a commitment activity where we say, guess what? Did you know that when some people overuse their directing style, they start becoming dominating. If they overuse their delegating style, they start abdicating from responsibility. What does it mean? It means that if you do something wrong, your boss says it's your fault. I gave you full responsibility. I gave you full power of decision making, and you did it wrong. So it's your fault. They will never help you. When their boss asks what happens, they say, I don't know. I gave this guy to do it. He did it wrong. If you are developing, over-developing, you spend too much time being too nice to your people, you start becoming a carpet. People will walk all over you. Then your style starts becoming allowing. Then, if you are too much problem solving, you're always there with your people, you over-involve yourself, you stress other people out, you make decisions on the ground, nobody is empowered, nobody can make decisions because you're there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, every team is going to discuss what are the bad effects of style overuse. And then you discuss. Now, somebody tell me, when we do this kind of activity, what happens to our belief about the leadership style model? What happens to our belief about leadership style model? Let's see who I can ask. Maybe I can ask Mohammed. What do you think happens to, if we were the participant, what would happen to our belief about the leadership styles model? Yes,
So I
Mohammed?
didn't get the question. Yeah, I didn't understand what I should answer for.
Okay. So the question is, when we do the commitment activity like this, we get the participants to discuss in their teams what happens when a directing leader becomes dominating. What happens to the people? What happens to the organization? Okay, so that's what the activity that we do. My question to you is, if you were the participant and we got you to do this activity, which is discuss in your teams, what are the bad effects of style overuse? So my question to you, Mohammed, is if you were the participant, what happens to your belief about the leadership styles?
Uh, Actually, should I concentrate in one style like dominating if my boss was dominating, or still not catching up with you?
Okay, so you've learned the leadership styles. Do you believe it?
Okay.
Do you believe in the leadership style?
Maybe I believe in it depends on the situation. You should
Right.
take certain style in specific situation.
Good. So you come as a student, as a participant. I teach you the leadership styles. You understand it. Have
Mm,
you had people say, yes, yes, I understand,
okay.
but they don't believe. They don't believe that this is useful or
Mm,
good. When we give them a commitment activity and they practice applying it on their past experiences, okay, what we are looking for, what we want to
okay.
facilitate is they believe that this model is really useful for them. So what do we listen for? We listen for people saying, my goodness, if I had learned this 5 years ago, I wouldn't have had this problem with my boss. So the commitment activity
Yes.
to get them to buy in to whatever you're teaching them. If you're teaching them about communication skills, right? You do the commitment activity so that they believe that your model is correct. If you're teaching, let's say,
So
financial calculation, you teach them the calculation, but they go like, yes, we understand this calculation, but I don't believe this is useful, or I don't believe this is correct. Then you do the commitment activity, they apply on a real example or real case study, and then they go, wow, hey, this is useful. Hey, this is correct. So they buy into the knowledge that you give them. Does that make sense, Muhammad? Are you there? Is my connection okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
very makes sense. Yeah,
right. So,
because they this is like uh, are you here,
sorry,
Nazrin?
what did you say?
Hello, we
Yes,
can
you disappeared.
yeah we can yeah we can relate it to the part of trying
Right. So when you can
an
relate it
error. Yeah.
to your real life, whether in the past
But this
or
time they will try with knowledge.
that's right, that's right. So when they apply the knowledge in class and they see the impact, they see this is really useful, then they will buy into the knowledge. So if you notice, I've been doing this to all of you for the last 4 or 5 classes. The way we design the virtual class is for you to be aware of it. And then I teach you a model, okay? Sage, facilitator, teacher, instructor. And then what do? I give you a commitment activity where you practice it and then you go, wow, this is really useful. Wow, I did not know this could be used this way. So then what you have to do, you have to do your practices, practice 1, 2, 3, 4, where you will now gain a skill. So you have the knowledge, you are committed to it, and then now you are practicing it. All right. If everyone understands this, please give me a yes in the chat. If you have questions, please ask me now. Okay. So if I remember right, a lot of people were raving about AKCS, awareness, knowledge, commitment, skill, how much you liked it. So now we're actually going to deep dive into it. All right. So when we talk about AKCS, this is called the learning sequence, how people learn naturally. And therefore, this is how we should design our webinars, our virtual courses. Design a webinar at the beginning of the webinar. Sure, you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Nazrin, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to the course. The first thing you should do is run an awareness activity. Now, I want everyone to recall what was the awareness activity we did tonight at the beginning of tonight's class. Type it into the chat in your own words. What was the awareness activity we did in this class tonight? Yes, there was the first slide which said VLC, but then almost immediately we did an activity. What was that? Does anyone remember what was the activity we did the very beginning of tonight's class? If you don't remember, give me an N in the chat so we save some time. If you do remember, tell me, type it into the chat. Okay, Mohammed does not remember. Anyone else? Dina says, asking a client to describe a training that they want. Yes. In order
Excuse
to
me, Mr.
get
Muhammad.
you, sorry?
Excuse me, I lost connection 2 minutes كده.
That's all
Can
right.
you repeat the question here in A?
So the question
Awareness.
is, what was the very first awareness activity we did at the beginning of tonight's class? And Dina has typed it in. She says, we asked a client to describe a training that they want. What was the training they wanted? How to brush teeth. So imagine if I jumped in immediately, I started talking about learning objectives. I started talking about optics. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's class. Today we're going to talk about optics. Will you be able to understand optics without that activity? Yes or no? All right. Yes. So Safi says not the same way. So when we do awareness followed by knowledge, you deep dive. It becomes part and parcel of your being. So we provide a familiar, reflective, and emotional experience. Okay. Followed by the explanation. Okay. So we explore the experience by giving them a framework. What do we call this? The easiest way for me to explain is, some people they fall in love, but they don't know that they've fallen in love. They go, what is this feeling? What is this feeling I feel? Then someone says, you're in love. So that's awareness followed by knowledge. Then we give them a commitment activity where they explore the benefits that they will get by practicing this model or this framework, and it creates a deep emotional connection. They will fall in love with it. So if you recognize from prep week up until now, the way I've designed the VLC is to have you fall in love with the VLC certification. I don't know if I've succeeded. You can tell me later, but I've designed the course so that you have emotional experiences and you go, wow, dang, oh, aha. You get a lot of aha moments that convince you coming to the VLC was the right choice. All right. Last but not least, once you have that commitment, okay, good. Let's start practicing. Let's prove that you are actually able to do it. So we apply it in a specific situation that starts you on your road towards mastery. So when you do practice 1, 2, and 3, practice 1 is recording yourself, not even on camera. You're recording yourself, sharing screen, sharing whiteboard, sharing Padlet. Is that mastery? No, it's the beginning of the journey. So all I need to know as an instructor is I need to know that you are able to do it so I can grade you. Okay, move on to the next activity or next practice. Second practice is you are able to create a Google Classroom. You are able to populate it. Is that mastery? Not yet, but it's a beginning. And then the third one, practice number 3, is being able to record yourself, enjoying yourself, describing your hobby. Is that mastery? No, of course not. But it's a start. All right. So before we move on, give me a yes or no. Do you understand this? If you have questions, please ask me now. Yes, Mohammed.
Excuse me, sir. Can you define awareness as finding a need?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But not all webinars, not all courses require that. So instead of going find a need, we label it as awareness. We want to create that readiness to learn. So whatever activity you do that creates readiness to learn, that creates attention and interest, this is what we call awareness. Thank you for the question. All right, everyone else, if you understand, give me a yes. If you have questions like Mohammed, please ask. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. We are closing in on the end of the night. So let's see what we have. Now that you have your learning objective and you have your learning modules, let's talk about learning plan. So a learning plan is where you break your modules. What is a module? 120 minutes. That's a module. You break it down into subtopics. What are the subtopics? There are 4 of them: awareness, knowledge, commitment, and skill. And they must be sequenced. Do not turn them around and put commitment first or skill first. This is the way the human brain learns things. So we must follow the way the human brain learns things. Awareness, knowledge, commitment, and skill. Then we must assess based on the learning objectives. How do we assess? You must have tests. You must have activities that prove that your audience understands. So what do we test in awareness? We test for interest and insight. So we ask, okay, so what have you learned from this activity? Number 2 is knowledge, where we test for remembering and understanding. So sometimes I'll do this. Okay, type into the chat. What are the 4 modes of engagement? Type, 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 type. Oh, okay. Some people got it right. Some people got it wrong. Knowledge testing is basically what schools and universities do at the end of the semester. Yeah. Then we have commitment. We need to give them case studies and activities for them to practice the knowledge. As they practice, they start buying into the knowledge. They believe that the knowledge is useful. They believe that the knowledge is correct. And last but not least is we test their skill by giving them evaluating and creating activities. So if you learn graphic design, here is a bad poster. Here is a good poster. Please tell me what is wrong with a bad poster, what is right with a good poster. So we get them to do evaluating activities. And then finally, now design a good poster based on what you learn in knowledge. All right. So we're going to move on very quickly. Tell me if you understood this or ask me questions. Tell me in the chat, yes, that you understood, or ask me questions now. All right. I don't see a mic going on. Let's proceed. Test out your plan with audiences at least 4 times. Now, this is a Nazarene thing, yeah? You don't have to do this if you don't want to. But what I do is I test it out with 4 times, and I make gradual improvements. So if you want to know, when VLC 1 came out in April, VLC 2 and 3 came out simultaneously in May. And then VLC 4 came out in June. I kept upgrading the VLCs, the content. By the time VLC 5 came around, it was already perfect. Yeah. But then every year I would keep improving. So you right now, I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, you have the most upgraded, updated, latest version of VLC for certification. So what you have learned today, if I can say, yes, you are the first batch. You are the first batch to learn this version, because the last batch was in 2022, I think, end of 2022. And I made upgrades and I never rolled out the upgrade because there was no other batch. So you are actually the first batch to get the most upgraded version of the VLC. All right. So let's talk about a learning plan. You have to pay attention to this because tonight's practice, for practice, is you creating your learning plan for your webinar, which is 1 hour. So if we were to take my program again, okay, this is what it looks like as a learning plan. So 9 to 9:15, we do an awareness activity. Ladies and gentlemen, what are the qualities of leadership? Please discuss in your teams now. Go. All right, let's ask, what are the qualities of leadership? Blah, 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 blah. All right. 9:15 to 9:45, we spend half an hour. Did you know every description that you just read out from your teams can actually be defined and described and predicted by a model called leadership styles? And these are the characteristics. So can anybody guess what mode of engagement do we spend more time in when we are in knowledge, the knowledge section? Okay, so this is me testing your memory again. I repeat the question, yeah? Oh, dang, Safia typed it out already. So when you are in knowledge section, you will spend more time teaching, sometimes facilitating, sometimes, a sage because you want to tell stories, maybe a little bit of instructing. But most of the time you will be teaching. Thank you very much, Safia. Thank you for helping everyone out. Now, under commitment, 9:45 to 10:15, that's 30 minutes. We explore the effect of style overuse and we explore the empowerment cycle, which I didn't mention just now. So at this section, we get them to buy into the knowledge. Once they have bought into the knowledge, then we spend a good 45 minutes having them practice. We give them different scenarios. Okay, this is a person named Kelvin. He has this problem, blah, 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 blah. Which leadership style should you use on Kelvin? And then discussing their teams, they come up with an answer, and then they try and practice it in class. Okay, this is a 2-hour learning plan. If you understand, give me a yes. If you have questions, ask me now. And I apologize for the request for yeses tonight. I'm mostly in teaching mode, so I need to get confirmation. Thank
Excuse
you,
me, sir.
Thank you, Wayo. Yes, please.
I got confused between commitment and skills. So, as I understand, the commitment part is where they try to apply what they learned from knowledge.
Okay.
And here also appear skills when the part of skills they also apply like exercise or training or something like that. So, what is the difference between
Good.
commitment and skills?
So awareness and knowledge is input. Okay, awareness and knowledge is input. When you do awareness activities, you get them to be ready for the knowledge. Commitment and skill is output. When you do a commitment activity, you get them ready to practice doing it. So it is similar, but commitment is softer. You give them case studies. You give them things from the past for them to work on. When you do skills activities, you get them to work on something right now or in the future. So, for example, in this case, we give them scenarios to work on. Okay, if this was your employee, how would you do this? So, skills, for example, has a lot of role plays. You can do role plays in the class, you can get them to practice. For example, right now, I'm running a leadership program for 5 days for the Ministry of Health. So just tonight at 10:30, before I came back to my room, what did I get them to do? I got them to practice coaching each other. But before that, we did a commitment activity where they had to come up with, okay, everyone discuss what are the benefits of this coaching model? Please tell me now. So they have to come up with the benefits. They have to convince themselves. Does that answer your question, sir?
Actually, not really, because I now get confused more because you told them to discuss it with each other later. So how you can input the skill within the frame of the learning plan?
So they have to believe in the knowledge first before they can practice it in the skill. So
No,
it's a
no,
transition. It's a transition period.
I understand the knowledge and awareness is input and
Okay.
commitment is skill and is output, but you include the skill within the learning plan.
Oh,
So,
yes, definitely.
at 10:15 a.m. to 11 a.m., you are not with them.
I am with them, but I'm observing them as they are practicing.
So we can say like commitment that exercise you solve with them, but the skill is exercise to do on their own.
That's right, for them to do, but we also monitor because at this point in time, you have to be an instructor. You have to check that they're doing it correctly. So you walk around. If it's a what's the word? Classroom, you walk around. But here's the challenge when you do it virtual. You can't see everyone at the same time. So we move this off from the classroom. You notice all of our virtual classes from class one until now, you don't have a skill activity in class. We move it onto Google Classroom. You do your practices there.
That's clear. Thank you.
All right. So I apologize. I understand now your confusion because this learning plan is not a virtual learning plan. This learning plan is for a classroom in-person learning plan. So thank you very much. I will clarify this for the next session. I will improve upon this. Thank you for helping me with that. I just realized this.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Somebody's hand went up just now. Was it Dina or Safia?
Sophia,
Safia.
I just wanted to put it in different words and make sure, want you to affirm it for me if it's right.
Okay.
You said awareness and knowledge is the input, and then commitment and skill output. And also we can link awareness to commitment that they both work on the emotions. However, knowledge is the thought, what you think, and then how to translate this thought with the skill into actions. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So if you watch very carefully, awareness and commitment works on the emotional aspect. Knowledge and skill works more on the logical aspect. But it's not exclusive. Even in knowledge, you have emotion. Even in skill, you have emotion. But it's easy to see it that way. So yes, you're right. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So you look at the timing. Awareness is 15 minutes. Knowledge is 30 minutes. Commitment is 30 minutes. Skill is 45 minutes. What does this tell you? It tells you that you spend more time here. Dina says, can you please reshare your screen? Dina, can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
I don't know. I think I pressed something and I can't see the screen anymore. So
Okay.
maybe if you reshare it, I will be able to see it.
All right, let's see what I can do. How about now? Is it there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Thank
So,
you.
so if you see the timing, It's not perfectly 15 minutes each. Okay, it's 15 minutes for the awareness, 30 minutes for the knowledge, 30 minutes for commitment, and 45 minutes for skill. So when you look at a learning plan like this, it tells you that this learning plan focuses heavily on skill. But does that have to be the case? Not necessarily, because you could do something like this. If you want your learning plan for that one module to be focused on interest and insight, then you spend half the time or a lot of the time on awareness, a bit more time on knowledge, a little time on commitment, a little time on skill. Maybe the skill is not even doing anything. It's just, okay, everyone, I want everyone to write on a flip chart, what do they remember from this session? So the skill here is actually the ability to recall or re-explain what they learned. Okay, now I'm going to pause for a second. Do you understand this concept? Can you see what this is? So 60 minutes for an awareness activity. Can everyone see this? Can everyone understand this? You design it according to your need. So when do I design something like this? Usually it is the very first module on day one, when I want them to really do physical activities, they get into it, they learn the knowledge, fine. We don't need to burden them with too much commitment or skill activities, but they must be there. You cannot delete them. They must have at least one small commitment activity, at least one small skills activity. If you want them to focus on the learning, remembering and understanding, okay, let's do a little bit, a very short awareness activity. Bam, let's spend a lot of time on knowledge. Let's spend a little bit of time on commitment. And maybe for this one, I choose, okay, maybe about 20 minutes worth of skill practice. All right. How about if we want them to do applying and analyzing? We start with a small awareness activity, maybe, okay. And then we still have knowledge. You can't remove that. There still must be frameworks, models, fine. But then we spend a lot of time and commitment. We give them, just have them practice again and again and again and again, and then one skill session. Towards the end of the course, we do something small, something small, something small, and spend the rest of the time practicing. Now, these are random, right? It doesn't mean anything. It just wants to show you the different distributions that you can use. I have done very little activity awareness, very little knowledge, very little commitment, and the rest of the time is just skill. So how you design this differently will create different levels of impact. It does make sense though? Okay, well, would you be able to turn on your microphone and share with us how you understand this?
It does make lots of sense actually, because it's based on it's actually based on the learning objective.
Yes.
What I want to achieve based on training days or training objectives and so on. But actually, I've never thought about it this way, Nazreen. Thank you, Wallahi.
Fantastic. Thank you. So when do we do the last one? When do we do the one at number 4, evaluating and creating? We do this when the audience already knows what you're talking about. They just need to learn 1 or 2 techniques, and then they practice those techniques again and again and again and again. That's it, right? So you have an audience that knows what you're talking about. You don't have to teach them too much. But if an audience does not know what you're talking about, then it has to be interest and insight, remembering, understanding, because you're teaching it to them. You're giving them information. Once they have that, then you get them to do more. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, last question again. If you understood this, give me a yes in the chat. If you have questions, never feel like you cannot ask me questions. All right. Please. It does? Okay, cool. So I showed you what the learning plan looks like for 2 hours. When we expand that to 1 day, it could look like this. Okay, it could look like this. So I'll just leave the slide on. And as you can see, dynamic leadership is there. And we mapped it to awareness, knowledge, commitment, and skill. Now, Within the 2 hour session, of course, we can modulate how many minutes for A, K, C, and S. But usually, because of time constraints, we cannot change too much on the timing between modules. So 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., definitely only one module, 11 to 1, 1, 2 to 4, 1, 4 to 6, 1, like that, yeah. But yes, I have done 9 to 11, module 1, and then 11 to 12, module 1, part 2, simply because the content is just bleeds. It's just too much content. So you are the owner of your course. You are the director. You are the user. It depends on you how you want to do it. All I'm giving you is a guideline of how do you create it in sequence. If you do it in sequence, it doesn't matter what the timing is. You go 9 to 12 o'clock with one break in between. So that's 3 hours. Fine. Doesn't matter as long as you follow the sequence. Okay. If you have no questions, we shall close up tonight with two technique philosophies. The first one is learning objectives rule the content. You get the learning objectives wrong, everything else goes out the window. If you don't get the objectives right, your learning plan is not going to work. And I think Weil just saw that just now, because the learning plan will decide how many minutes do you allocate for each one. That's number one. Number two, always aim for impact. So what impact are you aiming for? Is it results only? Sorry, is it reaction only? Or is it learning? Or is it behavior change? Is it results? Or is it ROI? You as the learning designer need to know what level of impact you're aiming for. So in this case, we play a dual role. We design the learning experience and we also deliver the learning experience. In the Western world, it's usually two different people. Someone designs the curriculum or the modules, someone delivers it. And I guess another analogy would be, even in the Western world, they have songwriters and singers. Sometimes they are the same person. Yeah, in the VLC, we would like for you to be able to do both. You can design a workshop, you can design a class, and you can deliver it. All right. So that takes us to practice number 5. And in practice number 5, it is you need to create your learning plan for the 1 hour webinar that you are going to deliver next week. Hey, it sounds scary. Next week. Yes. And if you can't do it next week, do the week after. You will only be certified as a VLC. You will only get your certificate after you complete all practices and after you complete all the final assessment. So, as per normal, everything that you need is in the classroom. The instructions are very clear. If they're not clear, tell me. I will make them clearer for the future. So, you know what comes next. I'm going to go around the room and I would like you to tell me what were your biggest takeaway for tonight. Who would like to volunteer first before I volunteer anyone? Please turn on your microphone and share. What was your biggest takeaway for tonight? Your favorite takeaway for tonight? No volunteers? Us, Taib, please.
Yes, Mr. Nadri, thank you so much for this insightful information. Today, really, I enjoyed the lecture.
No. But which one was your key takeaway, the biggest
Yes,
aha moment?
sure, it is optics.
Oh, you like optics, eh?
Yes, I like optics
All
so
right.
much. Yes.
Then make dua for my teacher. He's not Muslim, but we pray for him because he has helped so many VLCs with that, just that. 700 plus VLCs have learned that technique just from us. They didn't even have to go to folks. He could have easily said, no, I will not allow you. They can only learn it from folks. But he says, nope. He allowed us to teach it as well. So we get the benefit from that. Thank you very much. Next to volunteer.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, actually, uh, a learning plan actually was very exciting because I did practice some of it, but without knowledge of it. When I try to teach some of my friends some things, I take these steps, but with not with the same uh,
Structure.
Like first, not with the same instruction, awareness, knowledge, commitment. I start with knowledge, then go to commitment, and mix with skill, and then go to awareness at the end to try to explain more. By knowing this structure, this was very helpful.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next, yes, is it? How about I just call out your name, Dina?
Yeah, for me it's the same as Muhammad. Like especially the part where you break down like for each part, like on the first day you would focus more on awareness, or was it the first module? I'm not sure. Where you focus first on the awareness and then the knowledge, and then the next day you would like change how much time you allocate for each part.
Was that a comma or full stop?
Full stop.
Okay, thank you. We were waiting for the next. Who's next? Wael.
Well, I seriously enjoyed the whole session, mashallah, tabarakallah. It was very informative.
Okay.
I'm working in the training and development, Nazreen, and to
Sorry,
be honest,
you're more what?
I'm working as a training and development analyst, by the way.
Oh, you're doing both, yeah?
Yes, but the
Right.
thing is, I've never thought of whether designing training content or designing training plan or even the whole learning plan structure and uh, and time allocation and the rationale behind it. It's amazing. I really need to go back and revisit the video again, by the way, so
Oh,
that
yes.
I can
Thank you very much. Last but never least, Safia.
The whole lecture is interesting and full of information, or at least structuring what we already have. For me, I've always think of it while I'm taking this as in-class training. But sometimes just forget that it's the word virtual training.
Well, I don't
That's
understand. What are you saying?
when I get this information, always I think of it in my inside, like to apply it in class. I sometimes just forget that the objective is for virtual learning.
Oh, okay.
So yes, so that like the Bloom theory, the verbs, the action verbs that help, that redirect me with using the verbs for virtual training, like Googling, recording, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Another thing, even in the learning plan, when Muhammad asked his question, I also thought of it as in class until Muhammad's question, when you said you're gonna upgrade this, and yeah, that was it. Just like click, like, Sophia, remember you're doing this for for other purpose. Yes, and for the but it's this. We learned this previously for the in-class teaching or training. I mean, that's why I think, because of that background, it's easy to understand, to link the things together, but at the same time, it's hard to make that connection, or to include both situations.
Yes.
The learning plan, we used to call it the training design.
Yes. The reason why we call it a learning plan is because we focus on what the participants will get. We do not use the word training anymore, because training focuses on what we want to give. So we work backwards.
Okay, but it's the same. It's the plan. We used to call it design.
Right.
Even that the design, yes.
Cool. Thank you very much. And I would like to call attention to Brother Muhammad tonight. You have helped me a lot, because I got my aha moment and I go, oh, okay, you're right. Because when we do virtual classes and we can't do the skill section as easily, we port it out and you do it after class. Because then it's easy for the instructor to check and grade. That's how we know. So thank you very much for that. That was very good.
Don't mention it.
I
It
have to
cannot
mention it.
compare of what we take from you. So thank you, Mr. Nazim.
I have to mention it because what you've done is you have helped me to redesign this for future participants. So, yeah, inshallah, it will be your amal jariyah because of you.
Inshallah. Thank you.
All right. So, guys, I've taken extra time away from you. Thank you for staying. We will see you in our last class in 2 days' time as you start preparing for your webinar. Again, if you need any help, call on me and Nadia. We will help you out. I don't know what topic to choose. I don't whatever. You just call on us. We will help you out, inshallah. But for tonight, have a good rest. We will see you soon. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye, everyone.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.